This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. Shalom Aleichem, Bruchim Habayim. Thanks for joining today. We're continuing in the Iggeres HaGra. Want to remind everyone you could catch the shir on Torah Anytime and now on podcast as well. We're continuing in the Iggeres HaGra. The Gra just mentioned how careful one has to be even from Dvarim B'Telem and Dvarim Yiseirim, and all the more so Lashon Hara, Leitzanos, Shvuos, Nadarim, and so on and so forth, that there are repercussions, very serious repercussions for not just for these types of Isurim. So now there actually, what's interesting is two Gersais in the Iggeres HaGra. The typical Gersa is V'choil asher tzarech lecha, whatever you need, tikach hakol al yedei shliach. You should take through a messenger. He's talking to his wife. And he's basically telling his wife that the ideal for a woman should be in the most modest situation as possible, namely in the home, and ideally in the, in a laboratory, in the perfect world, the woman should be, kol kavud avas melech panima, should avoid leaving the home. There are no two ways about it. That is what the Gra says. Now, the reason for that is al modesty, al tznios. I mean, we find by Sarah, where the Malachim asked Avraham, Aye Sarah ishtecha, and Avraham responded, Hinei ba'oyal. And Rashi says, this was a way of endearing Sarah to Abraham by allowing him to articulate that Sarah was where she should have been, namely, Ba'ayal. And one would think that the reason for this conduct is for modesty. This way, a woman is out of the limelight and she's not causing people to pay unnecessary attention to her and cause people to have improper taiva, so to speak. So the Gra is saying to his wife, basically, try not to leave your house. Go for Uber Eats, Uber delivery, deliver, all the grocery stores deliver. It's more expensive. Says the Gra, v'afim hu pamayim v'shalosh b'yoika, forget about if it's 10%. Even if it's 3 times the price. In other words, you could go out and pay $100 for your Shabbos order, or you could pay $300, or instead of spending $250 for your Shabbos order, it's going to cost you $750 to deliver it. It's kedai. It's worth it. What, Hashem doesn't have money? Hashem is limited in his resources? Hayad Hashem tiktzar. Is God's hand short? Meaning, is God lacking the funding? So the Rebbe Hashem gives you $250,000, so he'll give you $750,000. So what? What's the difference? Rebbe Hashem has unlimited funds. Hashem Yisbarach Zan, God supports me, Karnei Re'emim, from the great horned rams, Ad Beitzei Kinim, to the eggs of the lice. So Rebbe Hashem supports the whole world, so he'll give you extra money, and you'll be able to stay indoors. God provides every person what they need. So part of what a woman needs is not to have to leave the house. So it's more expensive, it's 10% more, it's 20% more, it's 3 times the price. Doesn't matter. The Gra is a big proponent of Uber Eats, or delivery. Now, that's our Gersa of the Gra. Now again, obviously this seems to many to be not lefi dargasenu umadragasenu. This would seem to be very difficult to sort of adhere to and abide by in our times, when it's commonplace and it's normative for a woman to be out and about just like anybody else. But just to get sort of a reality check of what the Gra's expectation was and where we are today, it should cause us to at least to think and reevaluate perhaps certain practices that we have. Now, there's a girsa of what Rav Goldberg calls Girsas Aram Tsoiva, which I also have in my edition, where the Gra says, Al Kain, therefore, kol kvuda bas melech panima. Therefore, it is the honor of every princess to be in the inner sanctum. What's the therefore? The therefore is very interesting. Namely, because we said it's so important not to speak extra words, and certainly not Lashon Hara Rechila Shvuos, meaning because of the last very large paragraph about the important value of every word we say and how it's so important, the Gra says that one should train themselves as much as possible to be yachid, to be alone. Right? The Gra began the previous paragraph. Targel atzmech b'chol yotze leishev yachid. That's the reason why Chazal say that for a woman it's honorable to be home. Why? Less time in social atmosphere. Meaning it's not for modesty. Kol kvuda bas melech panima is not just for modesty. It's to limit conversation. That's the reason to be in the house. There's less conversation. Which is quite an interesting reason to not to go outdoors. Whoever thinks, I'm better off inside because there's less socializing indoors than outdoors. But according to this Gersa of Aram Tsoiva, this is in fact the reason why it's recommended to be more indoors. Now, the Gra's continuation in the next paragraph sort of bears this out, because paragraph A talks about excessive speaking and especially Lashon Hara, but even Dvarim Yiseirim. Paragraph C talks about being careful with what one says. We're going to see on Shabbos and Yom Tov. And what? Paragraph B is just about modesty. Where does that come in? That would seem to indicate and support the Gersa of Aram Tsoiva that this is a continuation of the importance of limiting opportunities for socializing. The Gra continues, Ubeshabbos v'Yom Tov, on Shabbos and Yom Tov, Al tidabru midvarim she'enim nitzrachim oid. Don't say anything that's not very needed. Meaning, we just said before, one has to be so careful not to say extra words, but on Shabbos and Yom Tov, if you don't need to say it, don't say it. So even this seems like well above our madrega. But again, it should give us a little bit of a reality check of what the ideal expectation is. Even things you have to say, to katzru ma'od, do it as concise as possible. Ki kedusha Shabbos gedoyla ma'od, the sanctity of Shabbos is very great. Uvekoishi hitiru loymar shalom b'Shabbos, and with great difficulty have Chazal given a dispensation and a license to say to somebody the following one word, Shalom. Meaning, to say to someone, Shalom, on Shabbos, it needs a big heter. It's a very shvera heter. It's very difficult to give such a heter, to say hello to someone on Shabbos. Re'ei b'dibur echad kama hechmiru. Look, with one word, how strict Chazal are. By the way, this is a reference to Tosfos Masechta Shabbos Kuf Yud Gimel Amud Beis. Tosfos says that one's speech on Shabbos should not be like one's speech during the week. Tosfos quotes Rabbeinu Tam that there's a Medrash Rabbah in Vayikra. The Rashbi had an old mother, an elderly grandmother, and she was talking a lot. So the Rashbi said, "Mama, it's Shabbos today." She closed her mouth. So we see, says Tosfos, that one should not speak on Shabbat as much as during the week. Interesting. Who even thinks about that? Whoever said, this Shabbos, did I speak as much as I did on Tuesday? Who would even give such a cheshbon? Tosfos says one should speak less on Shabbos than during the week. And then Tosfos quotes the Yushalmi, Ubi Yushalmi Amrinon, B'toirach hitiru b'shelas shalom b'Shabbos. With great bother did they allow one to say Shalom on Shabbos. So it's again a very big reality check, the way the Gra treats speaking in general and how careful one should be, not just with Lashon Hara, not just in shul, not just during tefillah, but at all. One should have some kind of cognizance that words are something to be utilized when necessary, and certainly on Shabbos and Yom Tov. Okay, Bez Hashem, we will pick it up tomorrow. Everyone's invited tonight, 9:15, for Masechta Yevamos Daf Chav Tes Amud Beis. Tomorrow morning, there's a shir at 10:30 on Parashas Vayishlach, and of course the big shir tomorrow night at 8:30. And Bez Hashem, tomorrow again, there's going to be a 7:45 shir about some of the new Sfarim. Somebody set up a number of Wednesdays in a row now about is hosting shirim on the Sfarim. So that's going to be, and Bez Hashem, Thursday is Shimru at 2:30. Wishing everyone a wonderful night. Kol Tov.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.